Hello, welcome back, you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in with us at Hearts and King, changing lanes with Hearts and King. So we're excited today.
Yes, we want to send a huge thank you to all of our viewers from last week, which was our very first podcast.
Yes,
It was, we got through it.
we did get through
I'm
it.
excited about today. One down. We're on our second podcast this week.
You guys are going to determine how many to go, so don't forget to
Yes.
subscribe and like us, please.
Yes, and we definitely appreciate you guys. You guys can find us on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're watching live, make sure to drop us a comment in the chat on YouTube or Facebook, guys, at WBBBTV. We're also have our chat rooms are being monitored. So if you drop us a line, we'll definitely respond to you. We love questions. And today we have a special guest, guys. We're excited about our special guest because she's joining us, Miss Mallory Haley. So this week, a little from last week, we're going to kick off her first because it is midnight in Japan.
Yes, so a special thank you for staying awake.
Mallory.
Hmm.
All right. So
She's here.
can you hear us, Mallory?
I can. Hey.
Awesome. We're wonderful.
We're looking at her off screen. We can't help it. So anyway, yes, hi. We're gonna look at you, Mallory.
Right. So this week we're going to kick it off with you, Mallory. Can you tell our guests who is Mallory Haley?
Yeah. Hey. Thank you, ladies, for having me on. I appreciate it. It is midnight here for me, so I'm talking to you from the future here.
Yeah.
That's weird.
I know. Who is Mallory Haley? I mean, first and foremost, I am a daughter of the Most High King. But secondly, I am a wife. I'm a mom. I am an entrepreneur. Very passionate about small business and specifically women-owned businesses. So
Yes.
that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
So I'm gonna tell just like quickly how we met. No, you're gonna tell how we met, but I want everybody to know how we met. So
Okay.
What happened? You and Hakima had a great story.
Well, what had happened was my family, we were in transition. So my husband is active duty military, he's in the Navy, and we were kind of in this like weird limbo phase where we had sold our home and
Yes.
we were kind of waiting to transition for our PCS overseas. And we had booked this Airbnb to stay in, and it was awful. It was the worst. Like it was like, I don't even know that I could actually like describe it and do it justice. It was like there were cockroaches crawling on the walls. Like it was so bad. And by way of the research and the studying and the learning and the things that I was doing on my own through trying to navigate the real estate world myself, I knew about this app called Furnish Finder. And I was like, I got to find somewhere else for us to stay. And I went on there and one of Hakima's properties popped up. And I messaged her and she like instantly replied. And she was like, yes, I've got something available. Come meet me. And
What
so I
time was
went
that?
and I met her. Huh?
What time was that? Do you remember?
It was in the evening.
It was
Like, yeah, it was evening time, right?
yeah. Well, by the
Yeah.
time I got in, we'll keep going with your story.
Yeah. I mean, it was late and it was definitely like an odd time. And she was very responsive very quickly in a weird time frame. And so she was like, I can meet you right away. And I was like, yes. And she's like my little guardian angel, you know? And then, cause I have two kids and like we had the dog at the time. And so it was crazy. And so I went and met Hakima and we looked at one of her properties, which was absolutely beautiful. But she was like, hey, you got a friend. She's got a property that's going to be a little more convenient for your, like where you need for your commute. So, and for your husband's commute. So let me call her. And so then Hakima calls Jerry and she's like, yeah, I can meet her over at Chicks Beach. Let's go. And I'm like, all right, these women are awesome. And I was so appreciative. And yeah, that's pretty much how we met. And then it was kind of the rest was history.
It was we just remember it so chaotically well. And it was, well, you guys divided, like you were in at least what? Chesapeake, so 35 minutes away. And then, so you were like, just go look at it with your husband. He pops in. I think he was like, just like, please, we were like terrified. Just needed another place to stay. So it was really, I think a godsend that it all worked out.
Right. And that's one thing I appreciate about you, Mallory, because you are like, Mallory is, yes, that, and I'm not saying this in a bad way. You gotta have yourself together if you're gonna rent to or anybody, like, you know, us.
Oh no, Mallory's
we want cleanliness, we want it all.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met you, you were like, listen, that place was a no-no. Just me listening to your story about it, I knew I had to find something, and I knew my properties were up to standard, especially your standard. And then like looking at your properties now, like yeah.
So that was the best part about it. So
being able to be accommodating. So we were able to accommodate you, and you. Well, when I met you and your children, Mallory, and I knew that my place was a little small, and I'm like, oh, you're in Virginia Beach. You're working in Virginia Beach, or your husband was working in Virginia Beach at the time. You had the dogs, you had the kids. I'm like, I got a place at a little more space and probably better. Then there's only a block or two away from the beach, so it was more accommodating for you. So Ben went over at the same time. You guys saw those properties at the same time in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we did. Jerry was right. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Actually, yeah, we had to divide and conquer because we were so far apart. We were like 45 minutes to an hour away, and depending on which direction you're coming from with traffic. So, yeah,
then like to just get to know you and get to like watch you first. Like it was an honor because you guys lived across the street from me. That's because I live in that area, but. You hustle. You got your dehydrator. You were making the candies. You were figuring out life. You're watching Hakima. You're getting just all this stuff that was going on, and you decided then like to switch up. And Hakima coached you through getting your property into the corporate housing structure, right?
Right. Molly, what were you before I met you? You and Ben had already purchased a house, correct?
Correct.
What were you going to do with that house?
So right around the time that I had met you guys, we had purchased the property, and we were trying to like get it ready. Like it, even the initial, our initial method was going to be a long-term rental.
Right.
And then I got in there and my juices started flowing, and I was like, oh, but we can do this and we can do that. We can make it look like this.
You have a lot of vision. You definitely have a lot of vision.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yeah. Luckily, I also have a very handy husband who is
yes, and hands-on.
Very good at executing my visions. So
support is a nice thing. Yes.
Yeah. So we got in there and I started rerunning the numbers, and I knew, especially after the experience that I had at that Airbnb where it was just atrocious, and then seeing how well you guys accommodated us, and then also seeing the difference between the cash flow. Right. From doing what would be a long-term rental versus the little bit more investment into this property, and what the cash flow could look like if we did a midterm instead. And then so by way of like, I was already familiar with the midterm rental methods and things, and it was very intriguing for me, but I just didn't think that was going to be possible with that house. And then once we got in and we started making things happen, then that's when I was like, oh, okay, we can make this happen. And then talking to Hakeem, and Hakeem was like, yeah, girl, you can do this. Like, we can do it this way and that way. And I said, you know what? We can.
And just saying your standard, your quality, and like the standard of like you set for yourself, Mallory, I just knew this was for you, because you knew like, hey, this is not quality and this is quality. So I knew, like, I'm like, why would you want to arbitrage when you could be so good at this? And plus you're personable. And then your husband, like Mallory is like Mallory, you are like, we're gonna do this, and that. And then your husband is good at executing everything that you need him to execute, which makes the perfect team. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, we make a really good team.
Right. You're coachable. And just just hands-on with things.
Okay, so help me real quick. So how long were you actually in town? So you had that property, you got that one up and running. You had, I know it was a little bit of time because then what happened next? You can keep going with that.
Yeah. So I guess so we had sold our primary residence, and we were in transition to Japan, and we had a few months before we were leaving, and we had purchased this property. I think we closed on that first property in November, like the 1st of November. We got it renoed, we got it furnished, we got it set up, and I listed it for rent on January 1st. So it took us about 2 months to get it up and going. But also in that 2 months, we were transitioning because my husband was he was doing workups on one of the ships.
Right.
He would be in town for a couple of weeks, and then he would be gone for a few weeks or a month or 2 months, and then he would come back for a month. And so every single time he would go out to sea, my daughters and I would go back to Cincinnati and stay with my brother. And then whenever he would come back into port, the girls and I would come back to Virginia. And that's how our relationship flourished, because I was able to stay in your properties with my family, and you guys were so accommodating. But then it took us about 2 months to get that property, and it rented within, I think it was like a week. I don't even think it took us that long after publishing it for rent. And then about 6 months later, we had Jerry, what did we have? Like 2 months to find a property, close on a property, flip a property, and get it.
Well, that's what I was saying. I was, with the time, I just remember you going, wait, we're getting ready to leave town. We need another one of these before we go.
Right. And not only that, Mallory, you were traveling in the mix of it as well. Your husband was going, you were looking for a house, you were getting one furnished and
homeschooling kids. I mean, we say Mallory's a beast. She's every
part of that word. And that's why we thought you were a good guest, because changing lanes, we talk about women and people in that part of their life where they're just completely changing a whole nother lane. And I think that you are a definition of changing lanes.
Yes.
We're about to take a break, Mallory, a commercial break. But when we come back, we definitely want to talk about your how you change lanes, how you are navigating that all the way from Japan. It is midnight in Japan right now, so it is February. No, sorry, I said February. I don't know what month I'm in, but it is April 15th right there. Is it?
Pre-tax day.
It is. It is.
Oh, did you have to have all your stuff done like yesterday?
Yeah, Mallory.
All your taxes?
Or today?
No,
Did you
today.
extend?
No,
Yeah.
today is the 15th.
Today is the 15th for
For
her.
her.
Yeah.
Oh, so
It's
I have
15 for me.
Right.
So I have everything done today.
Right. And me and Jerry, because when it comes to taxes,
Listen, y'all don't want to hear what CEO had to say, because I was real delayed.
yeah, so not our favorite time of the year, but it has become our favorite time
I'm
of the year.
okay with it.
We have a very good tax professional, so
Yes.
we'll probably mention her by the end of the show, but definitely, Mallory, when we come back from this break, we definitely want to talk about that change in lanes and what your kids, how like your experience been so far in Japan, and also you're running your business from Japan,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, I self-manage both of my properties.
Yes, yeah. And Mallory, you could have got me to manage your properties.
I know, and I would have, but I'm a little bit of a control freak, so.
That's okay, because you are here to coach.
Right.
So Hakima is here for whatever level of expertise you need.
Right. Me and Mallory, yes, we're resources, but me and Mallory got the same level of control. And Mallory, we're gonna talk about that, Mallory, because you are, I wouldn't say you're a control freak. You just got a standard. And
I
that's
do.
okay.
I do.
Yeah.
I do have, but I will say too, like I've been very blessed by our relationship, because there have been times, like, while I have not used Hakima to manage my properties, I have definitely used Hakima to help fill my property. So I'll be like, hey, like we've done finder's fees in the past, or if I have somebody reach out to me and I don't have availability, I'm like, hey, what do you have? And vice versa. Like it's really been a blessing.
Right. And that's a nice, we definitely have a nice network of different owners. in our wheelhouse, and when we see a tenant that needs a spot, we reach out and make sure that people have a nice place to stay. So
Yeah. Every
So-
time I have a potential tenant reach out to me and I don't have any availability, I'm like, but you know what? I got a network of women in the area. Let me reach out.
And we are going to be right back, you guys. We appreciate you, Valerie. I didn't mean to cut you off, girl. We're coming back.
Injured in a car wreck in Virginia? Worried about insurance companies taking advantage of you? Attorney Nathan Bordegaray, founder of Bordegaray Injury Law in Chesapeake, is a former insurance defense attorney who knows the insurance company's playbook. With over 12 years of experience and over 100 combined jury trials, bench trials, and arbitrations, Nathan has recovered millions of dollars for his clients. Regardless of where you live in Virginia, Bordegaray Injury Law is ready to help. Call 757-505-HURT. That's 757-505-4878 or visit nbinjury.com today to schedule your free consultation. Allow Bordegaray Injury Law to tilt the scales of justice in your favor.
Have you ever wanted to dress like a Hall of Fame broadcaster but didn't know where to begin? In 2018, Aaron Phillips was inducted in the Las Vegas Entertainers Hall of Fame, and The Voice was born. Aaron has been part of many successful podcast programs, and branding those programs plays a vital role. Visit thevoice.qbstores.com and order the latest embroidered products featuring the logos of many of Aaron's shows. Discounts and flat shipping rates are available on all orders, regardless of quantity, on men's, women's, and kids' apparel, and many accessories. Visit thevoice.qbstores.com and let Aaron's voice speak to you.
Hi. Welcome back to Changing Lanes with Hearts and King. I'm Jerry.
I'm Hakima. I don't even think we introduced ourselves.
We didn't. That's why I
We
did it
expect
now.
you guys to know who we are by now. It's only our second podcast. Well, thanks for joining us. If you guys were with us in our first segment, you guys know we have a special guest joining us all the way from Japan, and she's on our podcast, Miss Mallory Haley. Yeah, Mallory.
It's spelled hell yeah.
Right. Jerry's like, you got to get her last name right because it's hell yeah. I'm like, no, it's Haley. She's like, no, it's hell yeah.
Like a comet,
Yes.
Lily's comet.
Yes.
So
It is. So Mallory, now I'm stuck on Haley. Oh,
right.
for Pete's sakes. Mallory, we met her through the midterm rental programs that we have. And then from there, do not make me laugh. She's a minute ago we talked about how Hakima and Mallory could be control freaks. Just saying. She's telling me how to sit, which is fine. Anyway, what was I saying? I was saying that we met Mallory and her family through the midterm programs that we have in different properties. And actually, she stayed in one, and then she moved to another when they realized that their transition to Japan was going to take a little bit longer because we had one open up that had a little bit more room for all of them because they have an older girl that needed an extra room. Anyway, so Mallory, this is a silly thing to ask of you, but what does PCS mean? Because there's some people watching that are in the Navy.
So a PCS is a permanent change of station. So my husband was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia for 15 years. And then he got a permanent change of station to Misawa, Japan.
Gotcha. So with all of that, that was your first move. Not only, I know you moved from Kentucky and all that to get married and all that type of thing, but that was your first move across the Atlantic, right?
Oh yeah. I would joke whenever we first moved here. We first found out, when we first found out we were moving here, we thought for sure he was going to retire out in Norfolk. Like there was no way that we were going anywhere else because every single time he was up for orders, we would try to leave the area and he would always get stationed at NOB. So it was like, man, okay, I guess we're never going anywhere. And then we got Japan and I'm like, the Navy was really like, here, hold my beer. You've never PCS'd before?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Let me send you to the other side of the world.
So if you just that, I think is such a huge change, and you're leaving your family, you're leaving your grocery store, you're leaving your church, you're leaving every community. Just knowing that you can walk down the road and wave at someone that looks familiar, kind of thing. So that had to be extremely overwhelming for you. Do you have like some like tips just on that, and then we'll get back to the your fantastic wisdom for the corporate housing and running it from afar. But I think that that's such a big change for me.
Yeah,
personally.
it was a huge change, especially for our kids. Like our oldest daughter has never known anything but Virginia her whole life.
Sure.
And, we had built a community there. We have, chosen family that is still there. And so leaving all of that was really difficult. And then coming over here and the language barrier was,
I didn't even think of that.
oh my goodness, like that was, even still, it's still difficult. Like I still can't read Japanese. Like I can speak enough to get by. Literally, that's it. No, it's like 5 words, ladies. Don't give me too much credit.
What are they? Say them.
But I remember when we first got here, we'd probably been here like 2-3 weeks. And I took the girls, like we had ventured off base, and I was like, and I took the girls to this clothing store just to check it out. And I remember leaving that clothing store, or at least trying to leave that clothing store, and just sitting in the parking lot. And I just started crying and Riley's like, "What's wrong with you?" My oldest daughter. And I was like, "I just feel so stupid here. I don't know what anything says. I don't know which direction to go," because they drive on the opposite side of the road. And like,
You got blonde hair.
and so like, even like on the trains and stuff, Riley and I both, my oldest daughter and I both have very blonde hair, and so
You just see everything like a fish out of water.
Yeah. And so it was very difficult. It was stressful for sure. But we were really blessed in the transition, and that we got here. And because this space is so small, it's kind of like living in a small town. And we found a community here very quickly. And we've had people that in our lives here that have been able to speak life not only into my husband and I, but also into our children. And so that's been really important. But that would be my biggest tip, I think, is to just make sure that in those transitions that you get plugged into a community as quickly as possible, because it makes things so much easier.
Right. And finding a good community is important, no matter where you are. Because I see how it can be overwhelming. But Mallory, you have a 13-year-old and a 5-year-old. How was the transition for your children?
So our youngest one, we moved here when she was 3. And so it was okay for her. Like, she didn't really have too hard of a time. Like, she transitioned pretty easily because she was still so small, right? But for our oldest one, the transition was very difficult. She really, really, really missed her friends and her family back home. She was not excited about moving here, but then also once we got here, our family pet, our family dog passed away 2 months after we got here, just suddenly. Yeah. And that was very traumatic for her. And so I think just that in itself, like leaving her family and her friends, and then also her very best friend who she's grown up with passed away, it just kind of put a bad taste in her mouth. So like navigating that has been pretty difficult, but we're actually in the middle of another transition. So we're getting ready to transition again. And so she's really looking forward to that one.
She is looking forward to it. It's a better one.
Yeah. So
she's been, we need to put her on this podcast.
Right. Especially
she's definitely excited for it. I told her today I'm surprised she doesn't have like one of those chain link countdown calendars in her room,
Right.
Counting down the days. But we are just a few weeks away from PCSing again. And we will be going to Guam. And so we're leaving the snowiest place on earth, and we are moving to the tropical island.
So do they have good sales in Japan? Get over there and get some good summer clothes real quick before you get to Guam.
I wish. That's another thing. Like, it's just really hard to shop here. Their styles are so different. And even the way that they like their built is different, so their clothes are built different. It's strange. It's tough.
Well, so to segue back to how you're managing your business from Japan and then now going to be Guam,
Mhm.
what are like the pitfall? Well, how do you do it? Like, just give us a rundown on what you do.
Sure. So when my properties are vacant or coming up on vacancy, I will start advertising them on Facebook through Marketplace and things like, and then on like Facebook pages for like travel nurse housing and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I also always let my network of ladies like you all know, like, hey, I got my property open. If you have somebody coming your way, and then I do all of my leases and like any of our contracts, any of our payments, all of it's done virtually. So that's pretty simple. I get the tenant's email. They send me all of the like DocuSign is my best friend.
Right.
You told me that. You told me that, Valerie. That I was like, wow, how do you do it? She's like, DocuSign.
DocuSign. That's
It's really a good ad.
Mm-hmm.
yes. And so we do it all virtually. They submit their payments electronically, and if I also use a rental software called Rent Ready, and I can go through that if they want to go through that. Otherwise, most of them just want to Venmo me, and so it's worked out pretty smoothly.
Right. And that's the part of technology that has made life, I think, a lot easier. And you do have to plug into whatever you like, the Venmo, Zelle, because we've had it the opposite, where we've had people coming in from a different country that don't have Zelle and Venmo, so they have to get here and then put it in. So people have to realize you need to be accommodating to those folks that are coming through as well. Like, do the background checks. I've definitely called the what do you call those people that get you a job? Recruiting companies, and make sure that they're really, we do the back. We definitely check and make sure that everything's legit, and then work. Like if we have to use Western Union to get cash to our
bank.
to our bank. Yes, to that place that holds the money.
Right.
That is one thing that I learned being over here in Japan. Like there are some apps that don't work here,
Right.
Especially if you have an international phone number. So apps like Venmo and Zelle and those things, they don't have those here. So it's definitely, I still have a US phone number, so that's why I'm able to keep mine. And that was strategic, right? But yeah, I didn't realize that those were not, I thought those were like worldwide. So no, they're definitely just American apps.
Right. Now, Mallory, I want to talk about, because you make this seem really, really easy. And because you're managing something overseas where a lot of people who come to us for management,
They're around the corner.
they're around the corner and they think that this could be like difficult, like they don't have time for it. How have you made it easy for yourself as far as running your corporate housing with your network?
Yeah, it's definitely not easy. It's not something that's for the faint of heart. So I would highly recommend Hearts and King if you don't have the skin for this. But so I was very diligent before we moved and before we left the country. I was very diligent in making sure that I had all of my policies and procedures in place, that I had my network in place. So I know exactly who's cleaning my property every time I turn it over. I went through as a really good friend of mine, and then I also have a backup that has been provided via Hearts and King, right? But I have a very trustworthy friend who turns my properties over for me. She knows how particular I am. She knows the standard that I have. She knows the expectation that was set. And I made a very obnoxiously detailed list of exactly what I wanted done every single time the property was turned over. And I went through that with her line by line. We went room through room, and for both properties. So that got my cleaning set up. And so anytime that we have a turnover, I communicate with her, hey, this is the day that the tenant's moving out. Can you have it turned over? And I usually give her a day or two. So I've had to be flexible on that. And I've had to like set my calendar up so that I can't have someone move out in the morning and someone move in at night. I have to be flexible with like a 2 or 3 day window,
Right.
which sometimes is tough, right? Because sometimes that means I have to turn people away, and that's really hard to do when you're overseas and there's no security and like knowing that I'm going to lock in a tenant. But
Right.
it's the smartest move for me because I trust her. And I know that she's got my best interests at heart. So I was very diligent in making sure I did that. And then we did the same thing with our handyman. So we have a very trustworthy guy that he was a colleague of my husband's, and he's very knowledgeable. I trust him. I trust his skill set, and he has not failed me yet. He has been very diligent anytime that, you know, we've been advocates to, we tell all of our tenants, like, don't, if something happens, let me know immediately so that we can handle it. And so we do that, and then I'm able to contact the handyman. But the time difference is difficult to manage, for sure. So sometimes I'm getting 3 a.m. phone calls, and sometimes I'm getting text messages in the middle of the night. And so that's tough. But other than that, I mean,
But that just goes to the difference in, do you hire someone or do you deal with the 3 a.m. phone calls? That's a personal choice. And you're fine with, I mean, you must be a light sleeper, because if someone's texting me at 3 a.m., I'm not answering.
But yeah, I do co-host one of her properties on
Right.
Airbnb. So if somebody does hit her up and it's like the middle of the night
For her turn, right.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely let them know, like, hey, listen, she's on a different time, give her
Right.
time. Or,
And the other half of that is all of our properties, we try really hard to maintain them and keep them up. So, knock on wood, we don't have a 3 a.m. anybody's time call,
right.
because it's usually like a busted water, something. The calls I get are, they lock the bottom lock again, because, a lot of our houses have the sunshine
Smart
code,
locks,
you have the smart locks, and so you have to figure out how to get them in the house. But we're working through all those little silly things.
I think we've done pretty good to work our way through that.
We have,
Now we got
yeah.
emergency
Lock boxes on
boxes somewhere.
that they don't know about, but
Yeah.
until they have to know about them.
Definitely making life easier for yourself, and more accommodating for the tenant. Because I've gotten up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to go unlock
Right.
a door for
Exactly.
a tenant that's coming in from a bar. So,
Yeah, that's
the
a whole
digital
nother.
locks are game changers, that's for sure.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And for me, I'm not comfortable because I'm older than you guys are. And that's why I really lean into chemo for the smart lock, and then, just different things for shit. No, you just do it this way. The Ring camera, and the da 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 da. And she knows how to do all this stuff, and I'm like, okay, I promise I'm gonna learn it one of these days. But I think that's a training class that we're gonna have.
you know what? That's why I'm your better half.
And
And it's good to have a good partner. Let's
it is.
talk
It's
about
very.
that.
It's very good to have a good partner.
Mallory, I know you are I'm so proud of you, because everything that you've done since I met you, and we keep in touch and we talk about a lot of things.
Sure.
I am so proud of you, where you started and how your business is growing, and how you, like, we roll a lot of stuff off each other, but Mallory has a good partner.
Yeah.
Do you not, Mallory?
I do.
There's a great partner behind her, and then the way she thinks.
I think he's actually behind her in the corner right now.
He is. I'm trying to get him to like pop his head over here, but he doesn't want to.
Well, Mallory,
He's-
can you talk about
he's-
a second?
He's trying to stay awake.
You trying to stay awake?
Check.
We're gonna take a break here in a minute, Mallory. But talk about how important it is to have a good partner, and somebody that kind of understands your vision, like you mentioned before, when doing any kind of business. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I got the bug in 2017 when I started my very first business. And having a supportive partner made all the difference. If he wasn't on board, if he didn't support my dreams, my goals, my aspirations, I would have never even gotten to where I'm at now as far as the success that I have obtained. And then, it's definitely nice to know that he maybe doesn't always see the vision, but he trusts me and he trusts the vision. And so that's really nice, because I know that I can trust him to execute it. So it's definitely important, like, I wouldn't there's no way our properties would be where they're at. We wouldn't have, the numbers just wouldn't have worked if we would have had to hire out, and so that's the most important thing whenever you're going to do real estate and you're looking at purchasing properties, is you have to make sure the numbers work.
It's all about the
And
number.
yeah, and so that was, if I'm being frank, like that was one of the mistakes that I did make when I purchased these 2 properties, is I wasn't as firm on my numbers as I should have been, which is another reason why I have to self-manage. So if I had a big enough spread, if I was a little more conservative on that side of things, I would have been able to hire a property manager and let them handle it. But because I was not as conservative as I should have been, I kind of have to self-manage just to make the numbers work, to get the spread that I want. Now, could I do it and get a little lesser? Yeah, probably, but
You're
I
doing
have,
good.
You're
I have,
doing it. You know what? You're working. You're working. It's a job.
Right.
yeah,
That's all. That's your job.
Yep.
So it's just, you're working for yourself and you're using your entrepreneurial skills to do it. So
Yeah.
there you go.
And Mallory, with any business is like, with any business that you're going into, I always think that we should be more hands-on in our business as it grows.
Absolutely.
At the bottom part of it, like, I know if you were here, you're just like me. If you were here in Virginia, you'll be in there cleaning your own units as well. You know how I get in there and I'll get down and I'll clean a unit without any problem. I have no problem with that. You know that. So, and Jerry's like, you need to find somebody to do it. I cut my own grass, with our properties. But I'll find the time to
Can
do
we
it.
talk quickly about, just really
We're
quickly?
not talking about that. We're talking to Mallory right now.
Okay,
We don't
yeah.
need you to point out my flaws.
We're coming. It's not a flaw. It's an obsession.
hey, I feel you, because we actually, in the middle of our PCS, we're actually coming back stateside, and we will be in Virginia for 1 weekend so that I can come check on my properties. And I told my husband, I was like, we need to get a rental car that's big enough to hold mulch, because I know that I'm going to need to redo my flower beds.
And it's on sale too right now, Mallory.
It is.
So
It is.
5%.
He said, don't we have a handyman for that? I was like, yeah, but we're going to be there. We might as well do it so it's done right.
Oh, Ben, I'm
It
sorry.
sounds
I'm
so
sorry,
good.
Ben. I thought she was going to say we have to go to dinner.
Yes, that too.
All right. So Mallory, before we end our segment with you, because we know you got to get to bed because it's midnight. It's April the 15th in Japan, and it's still April the 14th for us. We still got one more day for taxes. But Mallory, you've been so amazing with like your military wife, your full-time mom. You moved across the world to Japan. You're managing a teenager that's 13 years old.
And you put together her volleyball, not team, but league,
Right.
so that she could
Right.
get over all of the loss that she just had. And then, like, kudos to you for
Right.
that.
And
Seriously.
managing and starting your own ministry, or doing some ministry work there in Japan for people that are probably going through the same thing you're going. But can you give our listeners some advice on roadblocks that they're facing and how to navigate through those roadblocks?
Yeah, I think that for me, and whenever I come up on stuff, I know how cliche it sounds, but I really have started to really lean in on my faith, and I take it to God, right? Like I try not to make any big decisions without the big guy. And then also, just trust your instinct. I think that it's easier for us to live in fear, right? And then I think too that we get inundated with too much information sometimes. And so I think that, whenever it's specifically when you're talking about real estate, you hear like analysis paralysis and things like that, right? Because you get too much information and then you can't make a decision. And sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith.
Right.
And if you know that you've done your due diligence, you've done the research, you know at least a little bit about what you're doing. My yellow flag, I think is what they call it, like my not so toxic trait is that I could look at anything and I'm like, I could do that, but I'm not going to do it like without at least looking into it and doing some research, right? So I'm not going to go in blind. And that would be my advice, is just do the research, put in the work, be willing. You have to be willing to get your hands dirty.
That's right.
Great advice. Mallory.
Absolutely.
Such great
And
advice.
I really truly got the chills every time you spoke, because my favorite very favorite saying when I'm nervous or getting ready to do something is faith over fear.
Yep.
Faith over fear. And, I listened to someone the other day and she said that all these people saying they have anxiety, I have anxiety, I have anxiety. That's like, you don't have anxiety, you have fear.
Right.
So the fear is stopping you. So
Yep.
if you say, what do I have fear? What is this happening to? Then it's you can break it down piece by piece, do your due diligence, look at why I'm afraid, and read whatever, pick up the phone, call somebody, and then figure out what it is that's stopping you, and then you can go forward. So you just gave me the chills with everything you just said.
Absolutely. I always, when I get stuck in those moments, I tell some of the ladies that like I minister to, I've told I don't know how many people, and it's a scripture. I can't remember the exact scripture, but it's, the Lord did not give me a spirit of fear, but he gave me one of power and love and sound mind. And so when I operate in that, instead of being afraid of what might be coming, blessings pour out.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you so much. Well, Mallory, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for staying up with us.
Yes.
Thank you for being such a good friend. Just thank you and you've also turned into a mentor because I look at you and I'm so inspired by what you've done and still the leaps and bounds that you make look effortless.
Yeah, thank you.
And I know there's a lot of moms out there or military wives that are probably about the PCS and probably just need one word of advice on. Am I saying it right? Is it PCSing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like how much time do we have? We're
5
You're
seconds.
we're over, so we're gonna go 5 more minutes. Yay!
What kind of word of advice do you have for a military wife that is about to transfer over to or PCS out of the country?
For someone who's about to PCS, I would say you got this. It's not going to be as difficult as you think it is. The thought of it is worse than actually going through it. But my husband's also coming up on retirement. So the other piece of advice would be don't wait for retirement to start your life.
There you go.
Yeah.
Great advice. Well, thank you so much again for coming on.
Yes.
Mallory, you're always welcome.
Thank you.
When you go to Guam, you'll be going back a couple hours and maybe it'll be 9:00 when you talk to us. I don't know. But
Brisket.
yeah, you're always welcome on Changing Lanes with Hearts and King.
Yes.
Thank you again. Mallory, if you go to our Facebook page, you'll also see how to get in contact with Mallory. If you're a military wife and you need some more advice, Mallory Haley or Mallory Hell Yeah.
Mallory, hell yeah.
So thanks again.
Thank you so much for having me on, ladies.
Thank you. We appreciate you so much.
Yes.
Can go to break.
All right, Mallory. We'll be going to break, and when we come back, we'll jump more into our corporate housing and
Absolutely. Yes.
Tell you how to do it. All right. You can go to our Facebook page, guys. You find us at Changing Lanes with Hearts and King. Also, YouTube. You can watch us live. Drop comments in our chat box, and we'll respond live.
Yes.
Thank you.
Or can. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm John P.G. Stiles. Some people call me JPEG. You can probably guess why. I'm the founder and partner at WWDB TV. Does your business need a commercial, or do you already have one and you just want to get the message out there? Do you need a sizzle reel? Do you need an audition tape for a part that you're up for? Or have you ever thought about hosting your own show? Well, this is the place, WWDB TV.
Hey everybody, I am Aaron Phillips. You are?
I'm Governor Val Brown Klingelhofer.
And we host what kind of show?
We host the most fabulous show on this network you've ever seen. It's all about Kiwanis and what's going on in our different cities.
And Kiwanis Connects is the title, and you can watch us every Friday morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Pacific time, right on Facebook or WWDB TV. Say goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Aloha.
Housing, and that's what I've been used to saying, and now it's changing lanes with Hearts and Kings. So
We just changed that lane. Right, to podcast. So
we did.
so bear with us. So we're gonna have some ups and downs, but just stick with us. It gets better.
It does. It
Yes.
does. So real quick, we're gonna like just kind of recap how we actually got into the corporate housing because Akima did it first, and she pulled me.
Made you a believer.
I did.
I made you a believer. Yes.
Anyway. So she had a beautiful 4-bedroom house, and her girls went off like they flew the nest, right? She's stumbling around this house going, I don't need this house. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to downsize. And I was like, oh, no. That is it. I mean, I sell real estate. So
Right.
I cut
So did this house.
I did, but I cut my nose off despite my face, telling her, no, don't sell that house because it was a beautiful home and she didn't need to do it. So she then got a roommate, and then
Yes.
what
So
happened?
well, yes, but I was trying to sell the house. Remember that I came to Jerry and I'm like, I want to sell this house because it's too big. And by the way, it has an apartment as well. So it's
Yes.
5 bedrooms,
It's 5
4
bedrooms,
baths.
right.
Yeah, 4 bath. I called Jerry and I said, Jerry, you know what? It's too much house. Let's put it on the market. And Jerry's like, it's not a good time to, hey, say hi to Patrick. Hey, Patrick from
Hi.
Vegas. How are
Hi.
you? So we get cues from our producers. So, you know, we got to do what we got to do. But anyway, let's go back to this house. So
Hear voices.
I call you to I wanted to put the house on the market.
Right.
We're like, let's get it appraised. So I got it appraised. When I bought it, it was $265. When I appraised it, it was $460, and that was almost 6 months later.
Mhm.
And the market is 2020, so the market had already shifted. So if I wanted to go out there and find a house for $250, I was going to get a little shoebox,
Yes.
not this big house.
Right.
So you were encouraging me not to sell,
Mhm.
which you would
So-
have made a nice commission.
I would have made a nice commission, but that's so the so many things about a realtor that you need to
That's why
when
you
you're
need a good
when you're
one.
choosing one, you need to make sure that they're going to be on your side and not in
Their-
because
In their own pocket, yeah.
this would have never happened. Like this,
No,
like,
right.
Anyway, her
So let me explain it.
yes,
So let me explain it.
because
what
I get
did.
tongue tied
Because it wasn't about the money. I needed companionship because once my kids left, I didn't realize
You're
like
lonely.
I've been
Yeah.
a mom since 17 and I wasn't ready
to
to be by myself.
especially prattling around. Old, she's
And
not
I
old
was
enough to
like
be
not
prattling
even
around.
40.
Right.
So I'm like, let me get some roommates. So I ended up getting roommates and I was only charging $600, $650. And I ended up getting 2 roommates and I thought I'd be safe if I got military, active duty military. I'll be safe.
Right.
Only $650.
Mhm.
I just need you guys to be in the house for if I hear something.
Here's
I
some
got-
noise. Right.
I got
right.
people ready to fight, and plus they're military. So anyway, come to find out, Monica is my bestie, but she ended up being my first roommate. And then I had Dion, who was there for almost 2 years.
Mhm.
He was in my garage. He's like, I feel like he's like the guy that's like in his mom's basement. He's gonna be there forever. But he was amazing though. He was an amazing tenant. He
Yeah.
always paid.
He was the opposite of flowers in the attic. He
Yes.
was, yeah, they wouldn't. He'd have to ask permission to come in the house because all ladies in the house and can I come in?
We would always feed him our leftovers. But anyway, Monica moved in as my first roommate, and we thought it would be a little weird because it was my first time getting a roommate.
Right.
And Monica was like, "You might be weird," and I'm thinking, "You might be weird." So we were like, "Let's just do month to month, just in case this is some weird
Right.
stuff." But end up being the best of friends. Monica would cook.
And you would eat.
Yes, and I would eat. Monica clean. We had wine. Like when I came home from work and I was stressed, she was like, I'm like, I'm on a diet. She's like, well, I got some grapes for you. And it'll be wine that she's pouring into my glass. So, but it ended up being like the best thing for me. So Monica, after 8 months with me, Monica ended up buying a house.
Yes.
And she's like, you know what? I'm going to do what you're doing. I'm going to get roommates and they're going to pay my mortgage, but there's no way I'm going to charge somebody $650.
Right.
And I'm like, what do you mean? Monica's like, the room I'm in upstairs is worth at least $1,200. So I'm like, well, if you don't close on this house, I'm going to charge you $1,200.
Right.
But she also dared me. Monica dared me that I could never get a roommate as great as she was.
Yes. Well,
I mean, she cooked, so I didn't really find a roommate as great as she was. But all of you guys are great. But anyway, I end up my third roommate ended up being a traveling professional,
Mhm.
Jill. And when Jill came in, Jill was absolutely amazing. She was a nurse. She actually was a neonatal care nurse.
oh, nice.
And Jill was telling me how there wasn't any kind of like the corporate housing market in Virginia did not accommodate professionals.
Right.
Everything was really weirded out, dark and gloomy or whatever. So she didn't feel comfortable.
People are nervous.
Right.
Mhm.
So Jill ended up being my first professional. as far as traveling professional. And I ended up going on a rent $850. But Jill made it seem like my $850 was a little sketchy,
Like-
right? Like it was a little too low. Like
Oh,
some
right,
must be up
'cause if
with
it-
my place if it was
right.
$850. So
Mhm.
I was like, well, with my next room, let me go up a little bit more. So I ended up going up to $1,000. And then I've been doing this for like 3 years now, house hacking.
Mhm.
But now that same room does go for $1,200. I got a room in my house that goes for $1,400.
Mhm.
I have a couple rooms that go for $1,000. So I mean, my house now that I pay a $1,900 mortgage on generates $4,600 a month.
Mhm.
So there we go. That's how I got it. I got in on an accident. I didn't want to live by myself.
Right.
So I think when did you become a believer? Because you became a believer. When did Jerry become a believer? Because
It was back to that house with those boys in it, and the
do you think it was after the third house I bought? Remember the third house
Oh.
the condo I bought? We had it. It was a tenant in there. He was probably paying about $850 to
Mhm.
whoever owned it prior to me. And I wanted the house, but I wanted it without a roommate or without a tenant.
right,
Remember that?
right.
And then I told you like I'm gonna clear this house out. I'm gonna renovate it, the condo. And guys, I got a condo for $99,000. My mortgage was under $500. No, my mortgage was under $600. And I told you that I was gonna rent that place out for $2,000. And Jerry almost hit the floor. She was like, "What?" Remember
I did.
that?
I did.
You're
And
like
then
Hakima.
also things that you do, like
Right.
the way you decorate, the way I mean, first off, this is what are our four words? Clean,
Cleanliness.
cleanliness,
Cleanliness. Yes.
clean.
Convenience.
Uh-huh.
Comfort. Quality. And then safety. Like you gotta have a
you have to
safe
be
community.
Safe. You definitely have to be safe.
But a lot of people think, well, wow, you guys are going up. The rent is crazy. But we do offer like this is utilities included, Wi-Fi included. So our traveling professional don't have to go and do credit checks. They don't have there's certain things that they don't have to do that we give them the convenience of. You come in here. It's a home away from home. Anything you need. I mean, we kind of get white glove service.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people out there. We're a 5-star host.
Mhm.
We started a business and we have a whole great network.
Yep.
But you became a believer, I think, at the third one. Let's talk about your guys. Go ahead and talk about this house. We spoke about it a
we
little
spoke
bit.
about it before. We don't need to go on and on about it, but I just have to say it was bad. It was very bad, and it's okay now. So
Right.
no, it all worked out because you came on and you just
Right. You were like, well, let me get this one started. But since you got it started, you've now grown.
absolutely. I've grown. I've grown because of the traveling nurses. The thing is that people don't realize there are grants for traveling nurses and it's military traveling nurses, firefighters, police officers, the secretaries, the admin, the janitors, anybody that works in those facilities. So you can get a grant. It's the FMLB grant. It's $15,000, depending on the state. That's a federal grant. Depending on the state that you live in Virginia, it's the Virginia HUD that you can actually, combine them.
Can you?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
So the last girl that I just helped was an audiologist, and she ended up with $18,000 in grants.
Oh, that's major.
Yes, and because
Especially in today's market.
Today's market it's a tough one. In each neighborhood, it's called a micro market. So it's not just a neighborhood, and then even the houses, like sometimes in the front of a neighborhood they're a little bit smaller, then they're mid, and then they're huge at the back. So you have to know, like, well, why is that house been on the market for 5 days instead of 2 days or whatever. So then anyway, she ended up getting closing costs too. So she came to the table with $0, just her $1,000 earnest money deposit.
That is amazing.
Yes, and now she's got to put some sweat equity into that house. She's young. The house was dirty. It had pets. Most people want to come and they want to just set their suitcases down and go to work. But if
I say today's market, that's not. I think sweat equity is going to put some equity in your house.
Sweat equity is what it is. You just have to sweat a little bit,
right?
And if you don't want to do it, hire someone to do it because you got equity in your back pocket, right? Just like that. And
everything is not as expensive. I know I've renovated a couple places. We've actually rolled our sleeves up, painted some cabinets, and turned some. We call it put lipstick on a pig, but I mean we did a really good lipstick on that pig.
We didn't have pigs.
We did not, but it's not. Well, I've had a couple.
I know.
But,
yeah, I'm kidding.
But
I'm
we've
kidding.
done a good job. But we have amazing contractors too.
Yes.
And knowing your contractor and also knowing like we're hands on with our stuff, so we know how much stuff costs.
Yeah.
So it doesn't cost us like getting somebody to come in and do a kitchen does not cost what you think when you can go and you could put together, you could buy that kitchen yourself and then you could just have somebody just install it.
Mhm.
Not a major renovation, I would say, and not a major cost. Now, if somebody comes in and design it, now that's different.
Right. I mean, and there's just every property is different. It's all about the numbers. It's all about the neighborhood.
numbers.
It's when you bought it because you could have inherited this house and then you don't have any idea what to do with it.
Right.
And so you need to talk to people that have different avenues for you to choose from.
Right.
You know, so like there's a lot of homes that just get passed through the generations and you don't necessarily want to let them go, but that you don't want them to just sit there. So it's like, well, what do you do with it? So you can rent them out traditionally, or you could do the house hacking, you could do the corporate housing.
Right.
There's so many different things and so many different ways. And you are so creative with how you like cover counters.
Oh yeah.
Cover furniture.
Oh yeah.
All that good stuff. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes it just comes to like out of experience too. Like I stumbled on this corporate housing by accident and just learning. And then remember we used to have brunches with our traveling professionals and they would give us information. Like they would tell us things and we would take that and we would utilize that and we would make it so we could be more accommodating. So
and that's like really fun too. Like to have these houses that they make a little community. And it's really weird for people if you're not a traveling professional that wants a room inside a house with strangers. It sounds crazy because to me, I'm like, I don't want to go live with a bunch of people.
But we have like honestly, like it seems like it's crazy,
but they're used to it and they're good with it.
And these professionals are like when we talk about people rooming, like I have a doctor, I have a pediatrician. I have a PhD doctor that owns their own airline, an engineer, myself, I'm a professional. But over the last 3 years, I've had over 30 roommates and every one of them have been amazing, but they have had amazing careers and your properties as well. You've had some really good
nurses, people from the military, people coming in to do their certifications for the military. One of the guys works as a Marine surveyor. We've got med techs coming in from the Philippines. There's one big dining room table at one of the houses and they all work puzzles together. Like this year it finally snowed here, so they were in the house. I was just like walking through. I was like, this is so awesome. They're like making friends and
I mean, I live in one, so I mean
it's a rich community.
It is a rich community and there's always things to talk about. There's always somebody home when you get there. And sometimes there's not. But you know, we sit down, sometimes we eat together, but conversation is important and communication is important. And like some people, like for me, it's just that community. Like I don't have to go home by myself.
Well, and you actually, I think it was for your birthday, went down and met one of your past roommates.
Yes, I traveled. It was her birthday.
It was her birthday.
Yes, one of my past nurses in North Carolina, Nikita. So amazing. We got an amazing relationship. I do travel with a lot of my past guests. I got a lot of friends.
You do. You don't have 30 roommates. You have 30 friends.
Yeah. So, well, thank you guys. This is about the end of our show. Thank you guys for joining us. Changing Lanes with Hearts and King.
Please comment. Ask us questions. We really want to know what you think. We want to know what your questions are. We want to know how to help you, whether it's buying your home, an investment property, selling your home, or figuring out a way to keep your property and making some money.
Right. So if you need more information, please get in touch with us at heartsandking.com. We also have our own booking site. But definitely there's ways to connect with us on heartsandking.com. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening to us. Your feedback is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Come back and we're going to just try to give you as many tools as we can.
Yes. All right. Thank you guys.